Gardening is not as difficult as you may believe. If you ever took a look through your grandmother's backyard in years past, you would discover items that appeared to be nothing more than rubbish. Wood, ash, citrus rinds, and old glass containers. Nowadays, we spend thousands of dollars on expensive equipment. However, our grandparents held the secrets. Sometimes simply observing the moon can double your production. Today, let's travel back in time to uncover 30 easy, free, and clever gardening suggestions that even modern gardens could benefit from. In the natural world, some connections are as powerful as brotherhood. Frequently, isolated tomato patches are simple targets for aphids, worms, and whiteflies, which can result in a bland and lifeless harvest. To correct this, our grandmothers turned to another plant, basil. Basil functions like a dedicated bodyguard, emitting a unique fragrance that repels pests. This is the science of plant companionship, where one species instinctively shields another. Over time, this combination not only maintains plant health, but also makes the tomatoes taste much richer and more flavorful than usual. Those succulent, bright tomatoes are evidence of the magic of selecting the right companions in a small garden, where the presence of a partner like basil entirely alters how things develop. Never allow the concealed power of your vegetables to go down the drain after a family dinner. After boiling potatoes, carrots, or greens, many individuals discard the water, unaware it is packed with valuable nutrients. Our grandmothers used to utilize vegetable water as a natural liquid fertilizer for vegetation. After being boiled, this water contains many vitamins and minerals from the vegetables. Once it has cooled down entirely, it turns into a tonic full of vital elements that help plants recover their vigor. Watering with this once or twice a week makes the foliage a darker green and the stems significantly stronger. This is a method of fertilizing that is both inexpensive and efficient, making the most of natural assets to sustain life. The vibrant, robust plants growing tall after a drink of this nutrient-rich water are a wonderful reward for valuing every small bit of nutrition from the kitchen. Gardens frequently have uninvited visitors prepared to destroy all your hard work in a single night. The answer can be found in a potent spice located in the kitchen, cayenne pepper powder. The science behind this method involves capsaicin, the component that makes peppers hot, which acts as a very powerful irritant to the sensitive feet and noses of animals. By spreading a generous amount of cayenne pepper around the base of the vegetation in the growing zone, we establish an invisible but potent barrier. According to grandmother, when inquisitive animals come into contact with it, they will immediately feel uneasy and stay away. It is vital to remember to reapply the powder after watering or rainfall to ensure the protection remains functional. This is a secure technique, entirely non-toxic to the environment, but highly effective at keeping the garden free of intruders, allowing your vegetables to grow in tranquility under that spicy shield. Soil can become acidic over time, and with that comes the persistent threat of slugs and snails, which enjoy leaving holes in tender leaves. The secret involves using wood ash, a byproduct of the stove, to distribute around the base of your vegetation. This dry layer of ash forms a barrier that slugs and snails loathe crossing because it dehydrates their bodies. In addition to being an excellent protector, wood ash provides calcium and potassium, two vital nutrients that help tomatoes, squash, and peppers grow more robustly while assisting in balancing the pH of soil that has become too acidic. Simply by repurposing something that would typically be discarded, we can both shield our plants from enemies and provide sustainable nourishment to the soil. The vibrant green roses growing behind that gray ash wall are a beautiful balance of protection and nutrition, proving that nothing is pointless if you understand how to utilize it. In the old days, gardening was not just about digging and sowing, it was also the practice of observing the sky every night. Our grandparents believed that plants have their own breathing rhythm and that the moonlight serves as a silent conductor. Many people plant or prune whenever they feel like it, which can deplete the plant's energy. The secret is to monitor the phases of the moon, because moonlight does not just influence the oceans, it deeply impacts the movement of sap within the plants. When the moon is waxing and becoming fuller, energy moves powerfully toward the foliage, making it the ideal time to plant leafy greens like lettuce or spinach. When the moon is full and at its brightest, energy is concentrated in the fruits, which is excellent for planting tomatoes or peppers. Conversely, when the moon is waning, it is time to focus on the roots or perform pruning because the sap tends to retreat deeper down. Linking garden tasks with astronomical cycles is not merely an old custom, but also a way of honoring nature's rhythm. Abundant harvests under the moonlight are evidence of the wisdom of living in balance with the universe. Every tiny seed contains a spark of life inside, just waiting for the perfect moment to awaken. However, not every seed starts off correctly. Some simply sit in the soil, and some young seedlings are fragile with unstable roots. Experienced gardeners often share a very basic tip. Before sowing, soak the seeds in Epsom salt water. Epsom salt provides a wealth of magnesium, which is a critical element for seeds to germinate and grow. It is very simple. Just dissolve 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt in a gallon of warm water. Then, let the seeds soak for approximately 4 to 6 hours. This magnesium will penetrate the seed coat, helping roots develop more quickly and creating very robust seedlings. This small tip gives life a healthy beginning, leading to a high-yield harvest and much more consistent growth. Garlic functions like a silent but very resilient warrior, protecting life in the green space of the garden. Sudden infestations of aphids, spider mites, or fungus often cause panic, leading people to reach for toxic chemical pesticides that damage both the environment and our health. But Grandma can manage that. Prepare a garlic infusion. Just crush the garlic, soak it in water overnight, then filter the liquid to spray on the plants the following day. The powerful, distinct odor of garlic repels pests and effectively prevents fungus from spreading without harming beneficial insects like bees. The best part is that the garlic scent evaporates quickly into the air, but the protection it provides can last for several days. This is the secret weapon to maintain a healthy garden where every branch is shielded by nature's wisdom, keeping the ecosystem stable and secure. One of the greatest concerns for a gardener is blossom end rot, a condition that destroys tomatoes and peppers from the inside, causing the fruit to shrivel and lose its value. The primary cause is often a significant deficiency of calcium in the plant. To resolve this, drying eggshells in the sun, crushing them into a fine powder, and spreading them around the base of the plant is a very clever solution. This homemade powder is extremely rich in calcium. It will gradually decompose and release nutrients directly to the roots, functioning like a shield, protecting the plant from the ground up. With just a minute of work, we have provided the garden with a natural source of calcium, helping plants remain healthy and actively preventing disease. Usually, garden soil becomes compacted over time, making it difficult for root vegetables like carrots and radishes to expand and grow. The secret here is to plant carrot and radish seeds together strategically. Radishes grow very quickly and remain near the surface. As they develop, they naturally loosen the soil around them. Meanwhile, carrots are slow growers and tend to go deeper. They will utilize the airy, loose tunnels created by their radish companions to grow strong roots. This cooperation helps improve the soil structure beautifully without human intervention. Additionally, since radishes are harvested earlier, picking them leaves exactly the right amount of space just when the carrots require more room to grow. A productive patch with straight carrots and succulent radishes is the result of clever planning where each plant contributes to a shared success. The water from small fish tanks after each cleaning is actually like liquid gold for every plant in the garden. Grandma had an interesting revelation. Fish tank water is incredibly rich in nitrogen and phosphorus, the primary ingredients in expensive fertilizers, along with a thriving system of beneficial microbes. Using this water to directly hydrate your plants provides a wealth of nutrients, immediately awakening the life in the soil without any synthetic chemicals. This is a way to both conserve water and achieve superior natural fertilizing results, helping plants remain green and healthy in a sustainable way. The vibrant leaves reaching upward after a drink of fish tank water are evidence of the nutrient cycle, where the waste from one small ecosystem becomes a rich source of life for a larger one in the garden. When night falls, the garden becomes a playground for destructive slugs, those silent leaf eaters that are difficult to catch by hand. That is when our grandmothers would use flat pieces of plywood positioned around the garden. Slugs always search for dark, moist places to hide when the sun begins to rise. Plywood sheets placed close to the ground are the perfect refuge that they cannot resist. In the evening, we simply lay the boards down, and by early the next morning, we can just lift them up and easily gather dozens of slugs hiding underneath. This small trick protects plants proactively and thoroughly without using any toxic slug pellets, keeping the garden secure and clean. Entire rows of vegetables with no bite marks after a long night are the reward for being clever enough to use an enemy's instincts to protect your hard work. Naughty four-legged visitors can sometimes be a nightmare when they decide a pot or a garden bed is the ideal place to dig, snapping roots and harming young plants. Cats frequently invading the green space does not just look bad, it directly jeopardizes the plant's development. A kitchen solution comes to the rescue once more: fresh orange or lemon peels. The enemy of these diggers is the powerful essential oil fragrance from citrus fruits, a scent that cats truly dislike. Just distribute fresh peels around the base of the plant or on top of the pot to create a natural no-go zone without any physical barriers. When a cat approaches, the oil scent will make them uneasy, and they will naturally stay away. Even better, as these peels decompose, they add more natural oils and a small amount of nutrients to the soil. Protecting plants this way maintains peace with your pets and ensures the garden grows without unwanted interruptions. A subtle fragrance barrier is sometimes the most effective weapon to halt invading ant colonies. Ants often enter the vegetable garden, bringing aphids and disturbing the soil balance by constructing complex nests that interfere with the roots. Instead of employing harsh techniques, spreading cinnamon powder along the ant's trail is a clever and humane option. The powerful odor of cinnamon completely interferes with the scent trails that ants use to navigate and communicate with their colony, causing them to lose their way and become unable to find food. Spreading cinnamon powder around the base of plants and potential entry points establishes a safe buffer zone, forcing the ants to seek another path. Clean vegetable beds without ant trails or aphids are the result of the subtle prevention from the spicy fragrance of cinnamon, keeping the garden stable and balanced. The success of a garden is not just in the green vegetable rows, but also in the vibrant colors of flowers that attract busy pollinators. A major issue many gardeners encounter is low yields because there are not enough pollinators, causing flowers to fall off without producing fruit. A simple but very vital secret is to incorporate flowers like lavender, marigolds, or sunflowers directly into the vegetable garden. These flowers, with their appealing scents and colors, will attract bees and butterflies, creating a lively hum. As they move from one flower to another, they unintentionally perform the task of pollinating the vegetables, naturally increasing your harvest. Specifically, some plants like marigolds can even repel pests. A garden filled with flowers and the sound of bees is not just a beautiful sight. It is a healthy ecosystem where life continues to flourish thanks to the magical bond between flowers and insects. Transforming old newspapers into a starting point for life is a way to both save money and demonstrate deep respect for the environment. Many people spend a significant amount on plastic seed trays, which cause pollution and do not benefit the soil later on. Instead, use rolls of old newspaper to create small tubes or cylinders for starter pots. Just moisten the newspaper and carefully roll it up, and you have a perfect container for soil and seeds. When the seedling is ready for the outside world, we simply plant the entire paper pot directly into the earth. The newspaper will quickly decompose thanks to microbes and moisture, becoming a valuable source of organic matter for the soil. This technique is not only inexpensive but very sustainable, helping the young plant remain stable because the roots are not disturbed during the transplanting process. Green vegetables growing from old newspapers is a meaningful image of change, where knowledge from pages continues to sustain green life. Using rice water directly from our own kitchens every day, our grandparents discovered a very mild tonic for plants. Newly planted or fragile plants often require a boost, but if the fertilizer is too powerful, they can experience shock. Therefore, old wisdom suggests that simply using rice water to hydrate the garden is sufficient. In that milky white liquid, there is starch and many mild minerals that help leaves remain greener and help beneficial microbes in the soil stay active. Water consistently and the plant absorbs nutrients gradually, with roots extending deeper and becoming stronger every day. This is a natural, cost-free method to care for plants that any household can perform. Seeing leaves full of vitality after each drink of rice water demonstrates that the simplest things can sometimes provide the most enduring energy to the garden. A difficult issue many encounter is that lettuce is extremely sensitive to high temperatures. It easily wilts or quickly produces flowers prematurely, making the leaves bitter and inedible. The secret to resolving this is to plant lettuce directly under the shade of taller vegetation in the garden. By positioning them under the broad leaves of tomatoes or tall sunflowers, we have established a wonderful natural canopy that keeps the soil cool and prevents the direct heat of the sun. This layered setup does not just conserve space. It creates an ideal environment for lettuce to grow consistently, remaining crisp and flavorful even during heat waves. Fresh green salads gathered from cool garden spots are evidence of the wisdom of using large companions to shield tiny green sprouts. During cold seasonal transitions, old plastic water jugs can turn into warm, protective cocoons for sensitive seedlings. Night frost and cold early season winds can easily destroy a newly planted seedling in a moment. According to Grandma, cut the bottoms off 1-gallon water jugs to create many portable greenhouses. When you position the jug over a seedling and fix it to the ground, the clear plastic functions as a heat trap, retaining warmth from the daytime sun and keeping the necessary moisture inside. Simultaneously, it shields the plant from direct cold wind and pests. Removing the cap assists with ventilation, ensuring the plant has enough air to breathe. This shield encourages growth and helps the plant safely navigate its most sensitive phase. Seedlings growing robustly under the cover of plastic jugs are the result of ingenuity, turning waste into a shield for life. The combination of wood ash and coffee grounds is the ideal recipe for productive soil, balancing both pH and vital nutrients. Many gardens struggle with soil that lacks potassium or has an incorrect pH, causing plants to be stunted even with plenty of fertilizer. Wood ash functions to increase the soil's pH while providing a lot of potassium to keep plants healthy, while coffee grounds are an excellent source of nitrogen and help keep the soil loose and airy. Mixing 1 part ash with 2 parts coffee grounds and distributing it around the growing zone helps enrich the soil naturally and sustainably without spending money on synthetic fertilizers. This mixture does not just nourish the plant, it improves the microbial ecosystem in the earth, preparing the way for a large harvest. Vibrant green plants full of life growing from kitchen leftovers are evidence of the wisdom of using natural nutrients to balance one another. A consistent and automatic water delivery system from old plastic jugs is a lifesaver for the garden on busy days. A frequent problem is that plants easily lack water when the owner is away, or surface watering sometimes does not penetrate deep enough to the roots, leaving the plant dry even after watering. The clever gardening method here is to use a 1-gallon plastic jug with holes made in it and bury it near the plant's base. By making several tiny holes in the bottom and sides, then filling it with water and burying half the jug in the garden bed, we have created a very efficient self-regulating moisture system. Water from the jug will be released gradually and directly into the root zone, keeping the soil moisture consistent based on the plant's requirements. This technique does not just help plants grow strong during dry periods, it saves a lot of time and effort in daily watering. Plants that remain green and fresh, even under intense sun, are the reward for being smart enough to turn a basic plastic jug into a dedicated assistant caring for every drop of water. Discovering nutritious food directly from the hidden dark spots of your home by using old cardboard is a fun and meaningful activity. A clever revelation from Grandma is growing mushrooms directly on layers of moist cardboard by placing mushroom spores between layers of wet cardboard and putting them in a container. We have created an ideal environment for mushrooms to develop. Mushrooms do not require soil or sunlight at all. They simply need consistent moisture and darkness to grow robustly. Placing these boxes in unused areas like the basement or under the stairs turns seemingly useless spots into a small garden producing clean food for the family. After a short period, clusters of fresh white mushrooms will begin emerging from the paper fibers, bringing the satisfaction of self-sufficiency from discarded items. A difficult issue for potted plants is that water can accumulate and cause root rot if you water excessively. Or conversely, the soil dries out too quickly on hot days, draining the plant. An old sponge positioned at the bottom of the pot can turn into a clever reservoir, resolving the concern of waterlogging or sudden drought. The sponge functions like a dynamic tank, It will absorb all the extra water when we overwater, preventing the saturation that damages roots. Then, as the soil begins to dry out, the sponge gradually releases that stored water back into the soil as the plant requires it, keeping moisture consistent for a long duration. This is a very efficient small tip that keeps potted plants healthy and green, even if you happen to forget to water for a few days. Vibrant, energetic pots are the result of using a basic item to create a perfect self-regulating moisture system in the soil. Sometimes the most basic method provides the most obvious results for the garden. Every gardener has experienced a headache over persistent weeds growing in pavement gaps, paths, or the garden's edge. You pull them, and they continue to return. Meanwhile, weed killers are quick but can be hazardous for the soil, plants, and family health. Few realize that the answer is right in the kitchen: boiling water. Just pour boiling water directly onto persistent weed patches. The high temperature will cause them to wither almost immediately, helping the garden look organized again without any chemicals. The intense heat from the boiling water instantly destroys the weed's cell structure, causing them to shrivel and die from the roots in a short period. However, be cautious to avoid splashing the water on the vegetables or flowers you wish to keep. Clean, organized paths without invading weeds are evidence of the efficiency of using pure heat to protect the beauty and order of your green space. Restoring garden tools that have been damaged by time and rust is the best way to value the items that have remained with a gardener's hands. The easiest and least expensive solution is right in the vinegar bottle on the kitchen shelf. The acetic acid in vinegar can react powerfully with rust, softening and dissolving persistent iron oxide over time. Just soak the rusted tools in vinegar for a few hours. Then use steel wool or a wire brush to scrub gently, and the rust will come right off, restoring the metal shine. Afterward, drying them and applying a light layer of oil will have the tools prepared for the next season. This is a great small tip to save money on purchasing new items while giving you a sense of bond as you personally care for and refresh old items that helped you manage the garden. Sharp blades shining in the sun after being cleaned are the result of wisdom in using basic things to restore value to old objects. A basic tip from the kitchen is sometimes sufficient to save the entire garden from persistent diseases. Every gardener has felt concern when seeing tiny white spots or a thin gray powder covering the leaves, the familiar sign of powdery mildew that makes plants fragile and slow to grow. Instead of rushing for chemical sprays, many people choose a milder way: diluted salt water. Just dissolve about a tablespoon of salt in a liter of water and lightly spray the affected leaves. This solution will slow the spread of the fungus without damaging the plant. Spray in the early morning consistently and patiently, and you will see the leaves gradually clear up, becoming greener and stronger every day. Sometimes the most familiar ingredients are the silent protectors that keep the garden vibrant and full of life. Transforming shady garden spots into areas full of light sometimes just requires a bit of ingenuity. Many people struggle with courtyards that are always in the shade where plants grow fragile from a lack of sun. A small but efficient tip is to use old mirrors or shiny metal sheets to capture the sunlight. By positioning mirrors in strategic areas and adjusting the angles cleverly, we can redirect sunbeams exactly where the shade plants require them. This change creates light-filled microclimates in places where it seemed nothing could grow before, helping to maximize your growing space and significantly improving plant health. This is a basic application of physics that provides big results, proving that people can control a space through observation and creativity. Green sprouts reaching up powerfully even in dark spots thanks to reflected light are the reward for being smart enough to direct natural resources to sustain life. Garden soil often encounters the problem of losing heat very quickly when the sun sets. This sudden decrease in temperature can impact nutrient absorption and slow down plant development. Lining stones around the base of a plant is how we create natural thermal batteries, helping to stabilize soil temperature and warm the roots on cold nights. The stones will absorb warmth from the sun all day long and gradually release that stored heat into the soil when night falls. Arranging medium-sized stones around the plant base creates a microclimate that is much warmer than the surroundings, keeping roots at their best. This is a completely natural, low-cost solution that provides very consistent results, especially in areas where temperatures fluctuate a lot between day and night. Plants that remain fresh and grow powerfully even in chilly weather are the reward for understanding and cleverly using basic physics to care for life in the garden. Using a glass bowl to cover a seed tray is a way to create a mini greenhouse that provides necessary moisture while effectively halting mold from growing. A headache when sowing in a closed environment to maintain moisture is that too much humidity and a lack of air often lead to mold that destroys the sprouts. The clever trick here is to use the transparency and shape of a glass bowl. The bowl retains evaporated moisture to create an ideal sprouting environment. But the nature of glass and how the bowl is positioned, not touching the seeds directly, still allows a certain amount of air to circulate, keeping the soil surface airy. This perfectly balances moisture and airflow, eliminating the environment mold enjoys. This is a very subtle small tip that ensures every seed has a clean and healthy beginning. Green sprouts growing consistently without a trace of mold under the clear glass are evidence of the efficiency of managing a living environment with the simplest items. Instead of allowing a heavy water hose to become a silent destroyer in the garden, many people have developed a simple and efficient tip. Every gardener has dealt with pulling a hose across a path and unintentionally snapping young plants growing near the edge of the bed. The answer is to place wooden stakes along the watering path and position a small upside-down plastic pot on top of each stake. These pots create high points and barriers, so when the hose is pulled, it slides over the pot's surface instead of getting caught in the plants. This basic setup allows us to move the hose freely to every spot in the garden without fearing we will damage our green friends. This is a classic example of resolving daily operational issues with practical and creative design thinking. Vegetable beds that remain organized and leaves that stay undamaged are the result of paying close attention to every tiny movement in the process of managing the garden. Sometimes the secret to a vibrant garden is right there in our own hair. Many people have a habit of discarding loose hair into the trash after brushing without knowing they are wasting a valuable resource. Actually, human hair is very rich in nitrogen, which helps leaves grow green and robust. Grandma used to gather hair from her brush and distribute it around the base of plants or along the garden edge. The hair begins a slow decomposition process, releasing nutrients into the soil consistently. Not only that, the human odor left on the hair functions like an invisible shield, helping to frighten away animals like deer or rabbits that often sneak in to destroy the crops. This is a completely natural way to manage pests that does not cost a cent and improves the overall health of the soil significantly without needing chemical pesticides. Preserve the best legacy of this harvest for future generations. Storing your own seeds is not just a way to save money every year. It is also a vital way to maintain plant varieties that have adapted perfectly to your own garden soil and climate. Instead of depending on store-bought seed packets that might not germinate well in your area, select the healthiest, most productive, and best-tasting plants at the end of the season to collect seeds from. After gathering them, the seeds need to be cleaned carefully and dried in a cool, airy spot out of direct sunlight before being kept in airtight glass jars. These seeds carry the genes for strength and life, ensuring you have a consistent supply of quality plants for next season. Tiny seeds will not be a challenge anymore if you know how to distribute them cleverly. A frequent problem when sowing tiny seeds like lettuce, carrots, or flowers is that they often cluster together or grow too densely in one spot, which causes the seedlings to compete for space and nutrients. To sow seeds consistently and save more of them, mix the small seeds with some dry cornmeal before distributing them on the ground. The cornmeal functions like a guide to help the seeds disperse more evenly, ensuring there is a good distance between sprouts right from the beginning. This method does not just make it easier to manage how many seeds you plant, but also reduces the work of thinning out plants later, ensuring every little sprout has enough room to grow healthy. Eggshells are not just for starting seeds, they are also armor for shielding and nourishing your plants. One of the biggest concerns for gardeners is an attack by snails and slugs, which can destroy tender sprouts and turn a green garden into a battlefield overnight. Distributing crushed eggshells around the base of your plants establishes a very efficient physical barrier. Those tiny sharp edges make it impossible for slugs to crawl over and reach your crops. Besides defense, crushed eggshells mixed into the soil provide a good amount of calcium, making the soil structure loose and productive. Calcium is vital for constructing strong plant cells, helping them stand tall against wind and storms and manage environmental stress better. Using crushed eggshells is a comprehensive approach. It improves soil health and shields plants naturally, helping us worry less about pests without using toxic chemicals. Start with a large army before selecting the strongest warriors. Many people are hesitant to plant seeds too close together because they think it is a waste or too much work to thin them out. But planting a lot in a small space at first actually has some great advantages. This allows you to easily manage the moisture and temperature for those fragile little sprouts in a small area, saving a lot of time and effort in the beginning. Once the seedlings have grown to a certain size and require more room, you select and transplant the healthiest ones to their permanent spots in the garden. This selection process ensures only the strongest plants continue growing, which increases your chance of success for the entire season and ensures everything is high quality. This is a very efficient way to maximize your garden space and manage your sprouts like a professional right from the start. There is strength in unity and in gardening. The combination of these three plants is legendary. Instead of planting each vegetable separately, which consumes more space, more work to construct trellises, and costs more for fertilizer, the Three Sisters method creates a perfect little team of corn, beans, and squash. In this close bond, the corn functions like a robust natural pole. The beans will climb up the corn stalk, and in return, they perform the vital task of capturing nitrogen from the air and putting it into the soil, providing free fertilizer for both of its partners. Finally, the large squash leaves spread out to cover the ground below, functioning like a natural mulch to keep the soil moist, halt weeds from growing, and shield the dirt from being washed away by rain. This clever combination not only helps you grow more in the same space, but also reduces your hard work while eliminating the need for synthetic trellises or extra fertilizer, creating a happy and abundant garden. The odor of a predator is the most efficient invisible fence to shield your garden. Animals like rabbits are often a nightmare for gardeners because they can sneak in and consume an entire row of green vegetables in just one night. Instead of using expensive traps or fences, utilizing an animal's survival instinct is a very clever tip. Rabbits have a very sensitive sense of smell, and they will stay far away from areas that smell like a predator. Spraying diluted urine around the edge of your garden mimics the presence of an invisible threat, making the rabbits afraid to enter your patch. This is a completely natural, inexpensive, and safe way for your plants. To keep it functional, you should spray again after it rains, as rain can wash the odor away. This helps you shield your hard work peacefully based on how the natural world functions. When you hydrate plants with a hose or a watering can, the water often just flows over the surface and evaporates in the heat before the roots can absorb much. That is why Grandma thought of a very basic but efficient way, using old clay pots for drip irrigation. You just bury a clay pot about halfway into the earth near the base of the plant, fill it with water, and put a lid on it. You have just created a clever watering machine. Because fired clay is naturally porous with tiny holes, the water will seep out gradually and consistently through the pot walls into the soil, giving the roots exactly the moisture they require. This way of doing things not only conserves as much water as possible, but also ensures your plants remain refreshed even on the hottest days. Today's vegetable scraps are tomorrow's black gold for nourishing your plants. Instead of viewing fruit peels, vegetable ends, or organic scraps as trash that damages the environment, we can transform them into the best organic fertilizer for our garden through composting. By layering kitchen scraps with dry leaves, grass clippings, and a little soil in a container, nature will perform its own magic of decomposing things. Over time, this mixture turns into a dark, rich compost full of nutrients and beneficial microbes for the soil. Using compost does not just give your plants a complete diet, it also improves how productive the soil is and how well it retains water in a sustainable way. It is a perfect circle. What we take from the earth is returned in a better form. Composting at home does not just save money on store-bought fertilizer, it also helps reduce household waste, shielding the environment around us in a real way. To keep gardening clean, give your hands an invisible layer of armor. One of the small but irritating things about working with soil is getting mud stuck deep under your fingernails, which is difficult to remove later. A small but very clever tip from the older generation is to scrape your nails across a dry bar of soap before you begin working in the garden. When you do this, the soap fills up the spaces under your nails, creating a barrier that halts dirt from entering. After you are finished with the plants, just wash your hands under the tap. The soap will dissolve and take all the dirt with it, keeping your hands clean and your nails from becoming stained. This technique saves time cleaning up after gardening and ensures your hands are well shielded. It just demonstrates that a little bit of preparation can make hard work much easier and more comfortable. Simple bamboo stalks are the most robust support for climbing plants to reach upward. Instead of spending money on expensive metal trellises or allowing climbers like cucumbers, beans, or tomatoes to crawl on the ground where the fruit can rot and consume too much space, building bamboo trellises is a great solution. Bamboo is a natural material that is very strong, light, and flexible, helping it support the weight of plants and fruit all season long. Building a vertical trellis does not just conserve garden space. It also allows air to move better around the leaves, reducing the risk of mold from high humidity. Those basic bamboo frames also bring a peaceful traditional beauty to the garden, keeping the fruit high up away from bugs in the ground and making harvesting much easier and cleaner. Do not discard those eggshells after making breakfast, because they are the perfect little cradles for new sprouts. We often depend too much on small plastic pots to start seeds, which can unintentionally cause shock and damage the roots when the seedlings are moved to the large garden outside. Instead, use your old eggshells and transform them into biodegradable seed pots. Just put a little fine soil into half a shell, plant those tiny seeds, and give them a gentle mist of water. The calcium from the shell will gradually soak into the soil, helping the plant cell walls grow strong from the very beginning. When the plant is robust enough, you just position the entire shell right into the ground. It will decompose over time, providing long-term nutrients and ensuring the roots continue growing without any problems. This technique not only saves money on purchasing starter pots, but also gives every vegetable in your garden the strongest start possible. When the sun sets, that is when thirsty plants require a little comfort to recover. Summer with its intense sun is a major test for any plant, and watering at the correct time is the key to helping them survive and flourish. Many people have a habit of watering at high noon because the soil looks dry, but this can actually cause significant harm. Water will evaporate very quickly in the heat before it can get deep to the roots, and water drops left on the leaves can function like magnifying glasses that burn the leaves under the hot sun. Instead, watering the garden late in the evening or after the sun has fully set takes advantage of the cool night air, giving the water enough time to soak deep and remain in the soil longer. This allows the plants to drink their fill and recover their energy so they are prepared for the heat of the following day. Next time after we finish a sweet banana, keep the peel. Do not discard it in the trash because what we are holding can nourish the garden even better than store-bought fertilizers. Fruiting plants like tomatoes, peppers, as well as flowers like roses and squash plants often require vital nutrients like potassium, phosphorus, and calcium to flourish and produce fruit. And banana peels are more valuable than even expensive organic fertilizers. Our grandma would bury entire banana peels right into the transplants when planting, or cut them into small pieces and place them around the roots of growing plants. As the peels decompose in the soil, they gradually release potassium, phosphorus, and calcium, vital nutrients that those fruiting plants desire. Additionally, as banana peels decompose, they improve the microbial life in the soil, creating an ideal habitat to encourage earthworms and help the soil retain moisture better, reducing the need for frequent watering. Some clever gardeners even soak the peels in water for a few days to create a concentrated banana tea, then used it as a liquid feed for plants, delivering nutrients more quickly. If you want those tomatoes to be bright red and sweet as honey, remember those yellow banana peels. While many people just discard peels in the trash, tomato plants really require the unique minerals found in them to grow the best fruit. Banana peels are actually a massive source of potassium, a key ingredient that helps the stem remain strong, improves how the plant moves nutrients around, and especially makes the fruit taste and look much better. Burying banana peels a few inches deep near the base of the plant allows the potassium and other nutrients to release gradually into the soil, helping the plant resist common diseases. Tomatoes fed with banana peels usually have a natural sweetness and a shiny skin, a great reward for using what is around you to sustain life. The secret to the greenest garden sometimes lies deep underground. For a long time, using leftover fish parts like heads, bones, and guts for fertilizer has been viewed as a powerful way to nourish the land. Fish is a very concentrated source of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the three major things that help plants grow everything from leaves to roots to fruit. When we bury fish scraps deep in the soil right under the plant's root zone, they decompose and release these valuable nutrients gradually, giving the plants long-term energy. This is especially great for hungry plants like tomatoes or corn. Even though burying fish might sound a bit unusual to some people today, the results it provides for soil health and harvest size are certain. This is a completely natural way to fertilize, making the most of biological resources to achieve a large harvest without needing complex synthetic fertilizers. The plant world has its own social life, where some types grow much better when they are next to each other. Our grandparents realized this and used companion planting based on these natural interactions to create a flourishing vegetable garden. For example, when we plant tomatoes next to basil, the powerful fragrance of the basil does not just keep pests away from the tomatoes, it is also said to make the ripe tomatoes taste even better. Similarly, carrots and onions are a perfect match because the onion odor confuses carrot flies, while the carrots make good use of the space underground. Planting companions together helps use resources better, reduces pests naturally, and makes the garden feel diverse and vibrant. This is how we use nature's wisdom to shield and help our plants grow without needing synthetic interference. Vibrant flowers are not just for decoration, they are also silent bodyguards. In organic gardening, using plants to shield each other is a subtle art, and marigolds are one of the top protectors. The powerful, distinct fragrance of marigolds can naturally frighten away many pests like aphids, soil nematodes, and even mosquitoes. Planting marigolds in between your vegetable rows or around the edge of the garden creates a very efficient biological shield, helping to reduce the need for chemical sprays. Their bright colors also attract beneficial bugs like bees and butterflies to help pollinate your plants while bringing a fresh and energetic look to your green space. Having marigolds demonstrates that beauty and utility can exist together to create a healthy and enduring garden. The happiest garden is one filled with things you are actually enthusiastic about. Many new gardeners make the mistake of planting too many types of vegetables just because it is popular or because someone else told them to without considering what their family really requires. This often leads to wasted food and less excitement because the workload is just too large. Instead, focus on the fruits and vegetables that you and your family really love and consume every day. When you grow what you like, watering, weeding, or fertilizing does not feel like a task. It becomes a daily pleasure. Also, practicing succession planting, planting new seeds right after harvesting the last batch, will ensure your garden always has fresh things to use all season. Focusing on your own favorites helps you work smarter, get more useful food, and brings real happiness to every meal from your own little plot of land. A balanced diet at the correct time will keep your plants full of energy. To keep the soil from becoming depleted and the plants growing consistently, adding nutrients regularly in a golden ratio is very necessary. A 5 to 10 to 5 fertilizer ratio provides a perfect mixture: 5% nitrogen to nourish green leaves, 10% phosphorus to grow strong roots and help flowers and fruit develop, and 5% potassium to increase overall strength and fruit quality. Doing this in the early spring when plants begin their new growth and in the fall to help the soil recover its energy is a clever tactic. After distributing the fertilizer consistently on the ground, watering it well is an important step to help the nutrients dissolve and soak deep down to the roots, so the plants can absorb as much as possible. This consistent and balanced feeding schedule will help your garden remain productive and your plants grow strong through the seasons. When taking care of an organic garden, we often use homemade sprays from garlic, chili, or essential oils to keep bugs away. But a frequent mistake is spraying these directly on sensitive leaves, especially under the intense sun. This can burn the leaves or interfere with how the plant breathes and grows. Instead, focus on spraying around the soil at the base of the plant. This is where most bug larvae and insects hide and begin their damage. By treating the soil around the base, you are halting the danger at its source while keeping the green leaves safe and clear. This indirect way of shielding demonstrates a clever approach keeping your plants as healthy as possible while still eliminating pests. The soil also requires a change of pace so it never feels exhausted. A frequent mistake many gardeners make is planting the same thing in the same spot season after season. This unintentionally drains the soil of the specific nutrients that plant requires, while also allowing specific pests and diseases to accumulate. By changing where you plant things each season, like planting beans where you just harvested tomatoes, you give the soil time to recover and keep its nutrients balanced. When the land is managed cleverly through crop rotation, it returns the favor with large harvests and long-term health, ensuring your little garden remains a sustainable source of food year after year. You do not require a massive field to get a bunch of flavorful potatoes. People often think potatoes are only for large farms, but actually we can harvest fresh potatoes even if our garden space is very small. Growing potatoes in wooden crates, plastic buckets, or recycled containers is a very clever way to use space. You begin by putting a thin layer of soil at the bottom, place your seed potatoes in, and cover them with a little more soil. As the plant grows taller, you keep adding soil to cover the stem. This trick encourages the plant to grow more layers of potatoes along the stem instead of just at the bottom like the traditional way. As a result, you will get a surprisingly high yield of potatoes in a tiny area. The goodness from the sky is the most valuable and mild water source for your plants. While tap water usually has some chlorine and treatment chemicals to keep it safe for humans, these can sometimes irritate the sensitive roots of certain plants. On the other hand, rainwater is completely pure and natural, has a perfect pH, and contains minerals from the air that help plants grow healthier and brighter. Putting large barrels under your roof's downspouts to capture rain is not just a way to save water and lower your bills. It is also the best way to care for your garden. Rainwater helps the soil maintain its natural structure and encourages beneficial microbes to grow. Using rainwater is how we participate in nature's cycle, using a free gift from the sky to nourish life in the smartest, most sustainable way. Getting rid of the old wilted parts is the best way to welcome new vibrant beauty. The trick of deadheading or pinching off dead flowers is one of the simplest secrets to making plants bloom longer and remain strong. When a flower begins to wilt and die, the plant naturally focuses all its energy on making seeds to carry on its line. If we leave the dead flowers on, new blooms will slow down or stop because the energy is being used elsewhere. By regularly pinching off those wilted flowers, you are sending a signal to the plant that it needs to keep making new buds and blooms. This does not just keep the garden looking bright and colorful all season, it also helps the plant become more robust and grow more branches. Your morning cup of coffee does not just wake you up, it also provides energy to your entire garden. Used coffee grounds still contain a lot of nitrogen, a mineral that helps leaves grow and improves the soil structure efficiently. Spreading coffee grounds directly around the base of plants or mixing them into your compost pile helps the soil remain loose, airy, and retain moisture better. The nitrogen in coffee grounds is released gradually, providing a consistent food source for plants without overdoing it all at once. However, remember to use a moderate amount and spread it consistently so you do not change the soil's pH too much in one spot. Coffee grounds also help keep some pests away because of their powerful odor. Have you ever felt your garden was not achieving its maximum efficiency? Planting sparsely not only wastes valuable space, but also allows weeds to easily spread. Grandma knew how to utilize every square inch of the garden bed. Grandma's secret lies in the square foot intensive planting method, a dense yet incredibly clever and purposeful planting approach. They divided the garden beds into squares using string or sticks. Then they planted high-yielding crops in dense patterns, calculating how many plants could fit snugly into each square. A key strategy was placing taller plants on the north side of the bed. This way, they would not block the sunlight from their shorter neighbors on the south side. This method offered many benefits. Weeding became much faster, watering was simpler because the plants were concentrated, and the harvest achieved higher yields in a small area. Because the beds were divided into squares and never walked upon, the soil remained loose and aerated. This meant Grandma needed less digging or tilling year after year. When you mow is just as vital as how you mow. To keep the grass around your garden green and healthy, sticking to the rule of mowing when it is dry is very important. Mowing when the grass is wet with dew or after a rain often leads to the grass clumping up, which clogs the mower and makes the cut look messy and uneven. Those ragged cuts on wet grass are like open doors for fungi and diseases to attack your lawn. On the other hand, when the grass is dry, the blades stand up straight and are easily cut clean by sharp mower blades. A clean cut helps the grass recover faster, maintains its natural green color, and makes the entire garden look organized. This is a simple golden rule that keeps your lawn in top shape, creating a great place to relax next to your vegetable rows. Sparkly reflections are like a warning sign that makes birds think twice. Birds are frequent visitors when fruit begins to ripen, and they can destroy your hard work with just a few pecks. An efficient way to frighten birds away without damaging them is to hang shiny foil plates on tree branches or trellises. The movement of the plates in the wind along with the flashing sunlight creates strange bursts of light that startle birds and make them too afraid to land and consume your crops. These simple foil plates are not only an efficient shield, but also add a fun, sparkly touch to the garden whenever a breeze blows by, helping you keep every bit of sweetness for yourself. A little beer party can be the perfect trap for unwanted guests. Slugs and snails are some of the most irritating pests in a vegetable garden, especially during wet seasons. Instead of using chemical slug killers that can be toxic to the soil and leafy greens, a little tip with old beer will resolve the problem efficiently and safely. The yeast and the odor of the beer are very appealing to slugs. They will be attracted into shallow containers of beer set at ground level and drown inside. This way is not only simple, but also very safe for children and pets, and it does not pollute your garden. Using expired or leftover beer to shield your greens is a smart move, helping you manage pests in a proactive and eco-friendly way. These simple beer traps will help you shield those valuable sprouts from the quiet destruction of night slugs. We do not require complicated plans, expensive chemical fertilizers, or bulky trellises. The gardening secret of ancient native civilizations. Our grandma only needed 3 seeds planted close together, acting as perfect teammates to nourish each other and enrich the soil. That is the Three Sisters method, combining corn, beans, and squash grown together. As corn grows, it reaches high and robust, immediately becoming the perfect natural pole for the climbing beans. With corn as the pole, Grandma did not need to build strenuous trellises. Beans, in turn, are not just climbers but also have a special biological mission. They respond by fixing nitrogen from the air into the soil, providing crucial nutrients to nourish all 3 crops in the system. Meanwhile, squash creeps across the ground at the base with its large leaves forming a natural ground cover, or mulch. This cover is incredibly efficient at preventing weeds from spreading and helping the soil retain moisture, reducing the need for weeding and watering. Each plant supports the others in a symbiotic relationship, significantly reducing the labor of weeding and care while multiplying the overall harvest many times over. A tiny change in how you position a seed can make a big difference in how it begins. When you plant larger seeds like beans, corn, or squash, how you put them in the soil impacts how fast they germinate and how healthy the plant will be. Many people just throw them in sideways, which sometimes causes the roots and sprouts to use up extra energy just to figure out which way to go. However, if you position the seed in the soil with the pointy end facing down, you are giving the plant its most natural and quickest path to grow. The roots will immediately grow straight down to find water and nutrients, while the sprout will head straight up to find the light. This little detail reduces stress for the plant in its first days, helping it germinate faster and have a solid start to becoming a healthy adult plant. Who says that getting an abundant potato harvest requires a massive field or digging tirelessly to search for tubers deep underground? If you have an old tire in the corner of your yard, you have one of the easiest and most productive food-growing tricks the previous generation ever used. Our grandparents would start by placing one tire on the ground, then put a few seed potatoes inside. As the stems began to grow and stretch upward, they would add another tire on top and pour more soil into it. Continuing this process, they built towering potato stacks. This vertical setup was key in encouraging tubers to form along the buried stems instead of just spreading horizontally like in traditional planting. As a result, the entire potato crop grew upwards, creating a super productive harvest area in just a small footprint. This significantly saves space, irrigation water, and maintenance time. When it came time to harvest, the job became much more effortless. They just needed to remove each tire from the stack, and pounds of clean, fully grown potatoes would be revealed without any need for digging. When caterpillars, grasshoppers, or cutworms appeared in the garden, many people would immediately look for sprays. But our grandma chose a different, wiser method, recruiting a team of natural pest controllers. With just a clean bowl of water in a quiet corner of the garden, Grandma attracted the most diligent patrol officers to work. Instead of trying to drive birds away, Grandma created space to invite them to stay. They placed water in small basins, planted some berry bushes that birds loved, and provided ideal areas for them to nest. When they felt the garden was a safe and friendly place, birds like robins and bluebirds would gladly take on the real job. They began patrolling the garden, searching for and eating caterpillars, grasshoppers, and cutworms even before they had time to cause major damage to the crops. With a team of natural bird patrols, the need for sprays or nighttime pest hunting was significantly reduced. This is a gardening strategy that turns the garden into a living, self-regulating, and balanced ecosystem where nature takes care of itself. A soft cushion will keep those strawberries clean and delicious. Berries that grow close to the ground, like strawberries, can easily become moldy or rot if they are touching wet soil all the time. Plus, slugs and bugs on the ground love those succulent fruits. Spreading a thick layer of dry straw around the plants is an old-school way that works great. The straw functions like a clean barrier, keeping the fruit dry even after watering or rain, which reduces rot. At the same time, straw works as a great mulch to help keep the soil temperature consistent and retain moisture for the roots. When it is time to pick, you will get succulent strawberries that are clean without having to wash off a bunch of mud. Using straw does not just make the fruit better, it also makes your berry patch look peaceful and organized. Do not let the late-night forecast of a sudden frost frighten you. Grandma taught that with just an old towel, an overturned bucket, or a piece of cloth, we could shield our plants from a sudden freeze. Unexpected frost can kill tender young plants and delicate crops in just one night. Grandma's frost protection method focused on using household materials to retain heat for the plants. They quickly draped old sheets, burlap sacks, or newspapers over young plants in the late afternoon before an unexpected cold snap. This fabric functions as a simple layer of insulation, trapping the warmth radiating from the ground. For smaller plants, some people also used overturned buckets, glass jars, or old milk jugs to create small domes, effectively sheltering and retaining heat. Sometimes the most sensitive plants were planted near stone walls or compost piles, places that naturally radiate heat in the evening. These covers were carefully removed the following morning so sunlight could penetrate, and importantly, to avoid condensation which could cause harm. Gardening is not merely hard manual labor. It is a long journey of connecting with the past and valuing enduring values from nature. The simple little tips we just explored demonstrate that the wisdom of previous generations always lies in a deep understanding of every breath of the earth and plants. Every secret, from repurposing coffee grounds to using upside-down pots to guide a hose, carries a lesson in gratitude and limitless creativity. Hopefully, these sincere shares will bring a new breeze and a wealth of inspiration to your small garden so that every day that passes, you find joy in nurturing life. If these ancient secrets have changed the way you look at the soil beneath your feet, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. We are uncovering the history and wisdom that time tried to hide. Let's cultivate a better future together. The next treasure of knowledge will be revealed very soon.